Hi, this is Alora from Firebird Summit. I wanted to spend a couple minutes today nerding out a little bit on some remarkably dovetailing work of two of my favorite authors. So as I mentioned before, I am definitely a huge Brene Brown junkie. Her work has been enormously instrumental in the major transformation I've made in my life in the past year and a half, and I kind of can't even imagine what it would look like if I had not really just sort of binged through all of her work and really taken a lot of it to heart. Another huge influence for me in the past decade has been Simon Sinek. I love the work that Simon has done when it comes to talking about organizations and how they function, how they are broken, and how we need to really reevaluate what we consider criteria for success. In Simon's latest book called The Infinite Game, he comes back to the fundamentals of game theory. And he makes a very interesting point that I think is super valuable to keep in mind. And it's been at the heart of actually my lessons from Brene Brown's work over the past year and a half. And that is this. In game theory, there are two types of games. There is a finite game, which is a fixed game with fixed players, fixed rules, fixed and agreed objectives. A sports analogy fits here, right? A basketball game, a football game, soccer game, whatever it is. It's finite, everybody involved agrees, you know how you win or you lose, and at the end of it, it's done, and that's it, you move on. An infinite game is one of those things. There are known and unknown players. There are factors that change. The rules don't necessarily stay consistent. And the purpose isn't to get to the end. The purpose is to be self-perpetuating and to go on and on and on as long as possible. The thing that's really fantastic about what Simon has pulled together in the book is the idea that we have a fundamental disconnect in our organizations because we are training people and we teach leaders to function as if they were playing a finite game, when in reality, the rules of business are fundamentally an infinite game. And when you apply behaviors intended for a short-term scenario, you get things like CEOs only caring what happens until you get to the quarter when they can cash out their bonus and bail and leave a disaster of a company in their wake. It's very damaging to trust and the ability to build something that has any longevity. What I like about this and where I really feel like it ties back to Brene Brown's work is one of the things that I think she talks about very, very well and very consistently is this culture of scarcity. And it's something that is very hard to recognize because we get caught up in it so frequently. And the culture of scarcity and the game model, I think, come back to a really core tenet that is a very different evolution for how we look at things as we get older. And it comes back to something that I made reference to recently in one of my blog posts, which is the changing nature of our relationship with time. As we get older and as we change how we view time, how we consider our own mortality and our finite time available to us to accomplish things we want, the idea that we are no longer on a quest that has a destination, but that it's really about the journey starts to become more important. You know, Brene Brown talks about things like authenticity being a practice. And the thing that is equally valuable in what Simon talks about is that leadership is a practice. And all of these things are about getting better and about spending your time focusing on ways to improve and incorporating new information into how you're doing things. And so what I love about all of this coming together is really about helping shift how we view what it is that's important to us and not getting binary about the idea that there is a win or a loss. You know, as somebody who's, lived through layoffs like all the rest of us, we look at how we're treated by our companies as something that we can't control. But at the end of the day, a lot of us go on to lead other teams and to help other people grow into their roles. And the most important thing that we can come back with is, how do we lead with empathy? How do we engage with empathy? How do we approach our lives in a way where we are focusing on the actual process of getting to be as good as we can get at whatever it is we're doing, rather than the idea that we just check a box and we're done and we move on. So my question for this week, if you were to change how you look at what it is that you're prioritizing in your life, instead of your goal being to run a marathon and changing it to a journey model, which is how do I get there and how do I just incorporate this into my life on a daily basis and continue to get better, what does that do for the options in your view of how you succeed? How do the rules change, or what is the definition of success that matters if you're playing the infinite game instead of a finite one? It's a question that everybody has to answer for themselves, which is the other reason I think it's really interesting, because there is no single answer for any of it. So I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Thanks.